Hey everyone, thank you all so much for tuning in. Today we are going to be discussing a possible Gotham Knights 2. What is the likelihood of such a project being greenlit by Warner Brothers after the heavily mixed reception to the first game? As always, please feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Would you like to see a sequel to Gotham Knights? Do you think it is likely? Also, if you do like the video, please feel free to like it to show your support and subscribe to the channel so that you can see when more videos like this one are uploaded. But let's jump right into this. The launch of Gotham Knights was a very interesting one. It feels very unlike any other AAA superhero video game release in recent memory. When the Batman Arkham games or when the Insomniac Spider-Man games are coming out, those seem to attain universal acclaim. People really love them, and the conversations about them don't really seem to end. People still talk about Batman Arkham Asylum on a regular basis. People still talk about Spider-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, even Avengers, which was pretty much universally panned, still gets brought up as an example of how not to do a AAA superhero game. In the case of Gotham Knights, however, it was very interesting to see the mixed reception, the negative word of mouth at the beginning, people really frustrated that it didn't have a 60 frames per second mode on consoles, the major outlets like IGN giving it 4s and 5s out of 10 pretty much across the board. And then when the Arkham community YouTubers and fans got their hands on the game, there seemed to be a pretty general consensus that the game simply didn't live up to what Rocksteady had achieved in their Batman Arkham series. I also find it interesting that less than a month since the game has launched, there already doesn't really seem to be much of a conversation happening about the game. It seems like it's just forgettable. It doesn't seem like people are hating it the way they hated Avengers. It seems like people just are not digging it as much as they wanted to. With that being said, I am starting to see an increased number of people vouching for this game and going to bat for it. There seems to be a cult following developing for Gotham Knights, and I for one would not be surprised if this cult following continues to grow as people start getting the game on sale, people who maybe didn't check it out at launch but learn about it later and play it and realize that they're having a lot of fun with it. I think some are really enjoying the fresh take on Gotham City, some are enjoying the new characters that you get to play as, and some are enjoying the multiplayer. For many, I think it's just checking the boxes that the Batman Arkham games did not. But I do think that there is an ever-growing question that this community is growing increasingly fearful to ask, which is what is the likelihood of a sequel to Gotham Knights? And I think the reason that this is such a daunting question for fans of the game is that, as I mentioned, Gotham Knights is not getting the praise that the Arkham series did, and so it seems like it might be in Warner Brothers Games' best interest to just forego the Gotham Knights continuity and just go back to producing entries in the Batman Arkham series, which has proven to be successful. And from a face value perspective, I do think that is a reasonable assumption to make in terms of their trajectory going forward. However, there is more to consider here, because while reviews do matter and are taken into consideration, they are not everything. Money talks, and if Gotham Knights is selling better than projected, then the chances of getting another one are pretty high. It's also important to consider that Warner Brothers Games Montreal, as we understand it, is a two-team studio. They are currently working on a second project that is likely set in the Gotham Knights continuity as well. We also need to remember that Warner Brothers Games Montreal has had multiple projects get canceled. They've been in development hell for a new AAA release for a very long time. They were originally working on an Arkham Knight sequel and a Suicide Squad game before Rocksteady picked up the Suicide Squad IP. Both of those projects were canceled and many assets were reutilized for Gotham Knights. It's very possible that Warner Brothers is not going to judge Gotham Knights' performance too harshly because of all of that, because of the troubled production history. Maybe they'll wait and see how the second game does before jumping to any decisions or conclusions going forward with this studio. When we get the next entry in the Gotham Knights continuity, whether it's a direct follow-up featuring the Bat family, or whether it's a Green Lantern game or a Flash game or a Superman game or any other IP set in the DC continuity, if whatever that game is releases and receives acclaim from fans who love it and from critics who universally say that Warner Brothers Games Montreal learned from their mistakes in Gotham Knights and has found their footing, then I think the future of this universe could be very well secured. If, however, their next game launches and receives similar reviews and similar word of mouth, it is pretty likely that Warner Brothers will simply cut their losses and not greenlight projects in the Gotham Knights continuity moving forward. This wouldn't be because there aren't fans for the Gotham Knights universe. We've established pretty clearly that there are, but Warner Brothers is a business at the end of the day, and money talks, and they want to greenlight the projects that are going to generate the most revenue. It simply makes sense. They have employees to pay. The developers who make these games need a paycheck, as do the executives and producers. And if games set in the Gotham Knights continuity are simply not cutting it, then they probably will not be able to continue producing these games. However, if Gotham Knights is overselling what projections thought it would, then that would be a good indicator for a potential sequel. But I think that between the low review scores, the poor word of mouth, and the IP not being as popular as what came before, it is a recipe for a difficult continuation. If Gotham Knights is unable to get a sequel greenlit, I will be disappointed for the developers, as this was very clearly a passion project and very clearly what they wanted to work on, and I'm proud of them for taking the risk. It's unfortunate when you have an idea that you really like that just doesn't receive the reaction that you're hoping for. I really genuinely empathize with these developers and really wish them the best. I enjoyed my time with Gotham Knights and thought it was an interesting take on the Batman universe. And while I was among the crowd that didn't like Gotham Knights as much as the Arkham games, I would be interested to see evolutions to this new gameplay loop and to see this version of the Batman lore progress with future installments. Unfortunately, the odds just simply do not seem to be in Gotham Knights' favor. The game was already facing an uphill battle when they rebooted from the Arkham continuity and started a new one. I think they lost a lot of potential players when Batman was not a playable character, and now you could only play as the Bat family, who are fan-favorite characters but not nearly as popular. And now for the game to have received pretty negative word-of-mouth reviews and press, it's just not a good combination. The reviews and word-of-mouth were what I thought would be the saving grace of this game, and so the fact that it didn't get good word-of-mouth and good press is not great. I'm simply having a hard time seeing who would buy this game other than hardcore Bat Family fans or people who just are looking for a fun superhero open-world sandbox game to play, who find it and happen to have fun with this one. I could see this one getting its audience, but at that point it might be too late. This is one of those games that 5 years down the road gets a bit of a renaissance when people rediscover it and say, you know what, this game actually wasn't that bad. But I think right now, when it's critical decision-making time for the future of the Gotham Knights universe, Gotham Knights is not a great stepping off point. Now, if they are able to make more games in this continuity, I do think they will absolutely find their footing, but I do think it's a rocky start, and it is down to Warner Brothers and the executives there as to whether or not they're even going to allow this risk of a universe to continue. Now, again, I just want to clarify that when I say risky universe, I'm not saying that Gotham Knights is bad or that the continuity itself is bad. I'm just saying that by default, it is a bit of a risk in due to some of the creative choices made in the game and the fan response to them not being very good. So no, while I do not think a Gotham Knights sequel is super likely, I also don't think it is impossible. Again, thank you all so much for watching. Please be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments below on this topic, and please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thank you all so much for checking this out, and we will see you all in the next one.